I'm Haley Watson, and today I will be illustrating how physical geography affects population distribution in Australia. Making a video, posting it on YouTube. Okay, so what I have here is a rough sketch of Australia. Very rough. I've already started annotating it, and then I was like, wait, I should be doing this on video. So at the bottom down here, you'll notice that we have Adelaide, Melbourne, and Sydney. And those are three of the really big cities in Australia. You'll notice that they're all coastal cities, and that's for a reason. Australia was originally a British colony. If we're not talking about the Aboriginal peoples of Australia, who were already there. So for the most part, everyone who came to Australia at the beginning of its colonization came by boat. So it makes sense that a lot of the major settlements would be on water, because that's how people got there and how people got around. In the middle, you can see that I've started annotating that. That's desert area. So it is very hot and dry, like all the time. And then the areas over here, there, and there, those are grasslands, which are also hot and very dry all the time. I wouldn't want to live there personally. So it makes sense that those hot and very dry areas don't have a really dense population. 40% of Australia is deserts. That's a lot of space where people just, for the most part, aren't living. So for sure, that large area, very hot, very dry, isn't gonna get a lot of population. By contrast, the places where people live, down here, those get rain, because there are mountains on the other side of them. So you got like relief, there's a word for that, I'll think of it later, but you know, like rainfall. So we've got mountains here, and I'm just drawing little M's on my piece of paper. Now this is assuming that I actually know the geography of Australia. Mountains. So you've got the rainfall, the fact that you're on water, and those two facts, a lot of people living in this area. Now you may be wondering, Haley, why aren't people just settling up at the top when that's technically closer to Europe as well? Well, it's rainforest area, which means that it is wet and thickly, like really dense forests. And that's kind of a pain to like chop it all down and settle. So this area at the bottom, where, as I've mentioned more than once, a lot of people live, it's easier, and that's likely why a lot of people settled there. A revision. So I was kind of right about the mountain placement. It wasn't straight across over here like I have originally illustrated, but it actually kind of goes upwards over here. It's called the Great Dividing Range, and it's kind of in between the heavily settled area and basically the desert. So yeah, this just kind of adds to my explanation of it's the water. The amount of water that they get on the coast, either just like from being settled on the water to the relief, precipitation, that's the word, precipitation. people are more likely to settle near water than anywhere else. And there's something else over here that I can't illustrate because I ran out of paper, but there's Brisbane up there, and over here is the Great Barrier Reef, which I don't think really affected physical geography, but is certainly something to make note of. That desert in the center, the desert and the grasslands and everything, that's the outback. Yes, the famous Australian outback, right smack dab in the center of Australia. Not a lot of people living there. There's a mountain range near Adelaide as well. So even though Adelaide isn't really covered by the Great Dividing Range, there's a mountain range right over here. Sorry about the lighting. That leads to relief precipitation, where, mountains are over here. The water's like, oh, can't go over, and just lets down its rainfall on that side. So mountains, definitely a factor when considering where to live, and that's why it's a big settlement over there. So, yeah. Okay, in conclusion, a lot of people live around the bottom coast over here, and that's because it's got good temperatures, it gets a lot of rainfall because of the mountains, and it's on the coast, which means that British and other European settlers would have been able to get there easily. There are less people living in the middle part of Australia, the outback, because it's a desert or grassland area, so it's hot and dry pretty much all of the time. And also because people just kind of settle where they land. You see that in Canada too, with a lot of big cities on waterways, because people do just settle where they land, and it takes more time and effort to kind of go in further. At the kind of top of Australia, which is physically closer to Europe and is on the Indian Ocean, that's a lot of rainforest area, so that's dense trees and not dense population. Thanks for watching.